good evening, good night, wherever you be watching this transmission. I bid you good morning, good evening, good night. Guys, I got a really important story here I really need to share with you guys. It's from the PBOC. It's from today's date. Issues warning as China's household debt rises to record. So, just when the Chinese thought they were out of the woods, out of the dark into the sky, well, they're not. And more people are going to personal loan centers in China. I got several emails from Shanghai Larry giving me the inside scoop on what's happening in China. We need to get a hold of Evan on Mike in the Night to give us the download on what's happening on the streets in Hong Kong. He lives there and he's been kind of avoiding these protests as much as possible so he could get in and out to work. So we need to talk to them to find out what is going on. China's consumer continued their borrowing binge last year, even as growth in incomes lagged, driving the economy's household debt to disposable income ratio to a record, prompting a warning from central bank about their need for tougher action to ward off risks. So this is becoming a huge problem where people in China are getting more and more indebted, and this may be the I guess the trigger that gets pulled that sends a world catastrophic economic collapse where things eventually in the next decade might return to normal in 10 years. I'll be 51 in 10 years, guys, so I'll be old. But my kids will be entering their teen years in 5 years. So yeah, hopefully the next generation might have something. Outstanding household loans jumped 18.2% to 47.9 trillion yuan. That's 6.8 trillion, a growth rate of 7.5 percentage points higher than the that of nominal disposable income. According to the data, People's Bank of China (PBOC) Annual Financial Stability Reports (FSR) link in Chinese published Monday that pushed the ratio up to 99% at the end of 2018 from 93.4% in 2017. Outstanding household loans have doubled since 2014 when figures stood at 23.1 trillion yuan. Now, here's the deal. So every dollar they make, they owe a dollar, right? But Australia's for every dollar they make, they owe two. So for the economy to function at the way it's functioning right now, for every $3 of debt that's created, they could create one, basically, dollar. So it's a really bad ratio right now we're looking at, especially in the United States too. Parts of the United States, not all the United States. The United States could easily be broken down into 7 different countries easily and economically feasible still. The PBOC's report added growth concerns that the rapid increase in household debt could propose risks of stability to China's financial system and the sustainability of economic growth over medium term by curbing consumption. Good luck with that. With the price of food and everything going up, price of fuel, price of heat going up, coal, gas, everything. It's going to make it tougher and tougher. Embargoes, sanctions, trade wars. Let's just salute to that. The rapid pace of household debt growth in China is more of a concern than the level. Global ratings company Fitch Ratings wrote in a special report on the country's household debt in July. Should China's gap with international peers effectively close in the next 2 or 3 years? This would add considerably to the country's overall macroeconomic vulnerabilities, given the corporate debt burden that is already among the world's largest by most measures. So what about a lot of these people that own vacation properties in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK, California, Oregon, and Seattle, and parts of New York? What happens then to those properties? Fitch warned that over a medium term, the rising household debt burden is likely to add growth headwind, and more disposable income is directed towards debt service and away from discretionary spending. So, middle class is shrinking in China while people are falling into higher levels of debt. Income growth has been moderating as overall economic expansion has slowed. The government data showed that the real per capita disposable income grew 6.1% in the first 3 quarters of 2019. down from 6.5 for the full year of 2018 and 7.3% in 2017. Whoa. Income growth been monitoring as overall economic expanse has slowed. Government data shows that per capita disposable income grew 6.1%. Of course, the government's going to say it's growing. Look at Canada. We have a shrinking economy for 3 quarters and we are still growing. We're doing well. Yeah, let's create 1 million public sector jobs. 1 million public sector jobs. The PBOC's report shows that household leverage of measure of consumer debt has a percentage of the country's total economic output or gross domestic product GDP stood at 60.4% at the end of 2018. Although the report didn't give a year earlier figure, the 2018 FSR showed the ratio was 49% in Monday's report. The PBOC noted that the figure of 60.4% is consistent with the international average, but much higher than the average of emerging market economies. Compared with other countries, the household debt risk in China is not prominent. But the PBOC said risks are still controllable and bad loan ratio for households is still low, 1.5% or 17.10 billion yuan at the end of 2018 and is 0.5 of percentage point lower than that in the total bank loans, it said. Guys, this is how it starts. Are they forgetting that this primrose path of easy borrowing and lower risks and lower interest rates and the government's bailing out these banks, this is the start. Even so, the central bank warned of higher debt burden among low-income families and among regions of the country. The debt risks in some low-income households in some regions is more prominent and requires attention, it said. The average debt-to-income ratio for families whose annual income is lower than 60,000 yuan is 200. Here we go. We're cracking the nut here. The average debt-to-income ratio for families whose annual income is lower than 60,000 yuan, okay, that's a huge part of China, guys, is 85.9%. So for every dollar they make, they owe 3. Woo! Now we're getting to the bottom of this. Yeehaw! Well, the ratio for those with an annual income higher than 360,000 yuan, of course, their debt ratio is 89%. So they're almost like 1-to-1, but they're okay. They're still, it should be around 40%, but yeah. The report said that, citing a survey carried out Peking Pecker University in 2016, low-income households have limited financial assets and so they have less to borrow from on their assets, which means their financial situation is likely to deteriorate in even the event of unexpected expenditure needs. PBOC data showed that the cost areas in Zhejiang province and Shanghai had the highest household debt leverage ratios in 2018 and 83.7% and 83.3% respectively, with Beijing in third place at 72.4. Yeah, tighter transparency. Yeah, we know this. Tighter supervision. Yeah, they need to obviously put more regulation in the banks to basically protect consumers and stop giving them damn money. The key to solving this problem is stop giving people money. And if they have to default, they need to default. Stop bailing people out and giving them like a life support line, and eventually it's going to be passed down to the children. It's going to be a mess. And I think outside of the Commonwealth, I believe in the Commonwealth, Australia is the first domino to fall when it comes to the whole economic collapse. Australia will go first. And I think, because they're so heavily tied in with China, I think 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3 properties are owned by Chinese investors in Australia. Same thing with New Zealand, but I think all their companies are sold out to China, creating, exporting, and this and that. So trade lines, basically. So I think that when you start seeing the public in China defaulting, the banks follow. I think the Chinese government won't have enough to bail out their banks, which they have already, I think, 9 times in the last 6 months. And yeah, America's no saint. America's doing these repo buyback, stock buybacks, and keeping these empty shells of companies propped up by taxpayers' money. What? And Amazon not paying $1 trillion in taxes are basically hinging down the small businesses from competing with Amazon because, heck, hey, they're not paying tax either. Heck, they don't pay for anything anymore. And they got shipping with federal governments to allow for cheap shipping with Amazon. And when they do their cheap shipping, it makes it hard for me to ship when it costs me $50 to ship this phone in Canada, but it costs Amazon $1 to ship. That's going to add restraints on shipping companies because they're not making as much as they do. What do? They go on strike during Christmas and they get higher wages and they just tax us more. Very interesting little psyops that's going on here. Very interesting seeing how it's coming together. You know what I'm saying? Guys, don't forget to follow me on, forget YouTube, man. No one, I'm not getting any views on YouTube. I put up some great content on there. I'm having a really tough time getting basically more than, 100 views. And here I am on Brighton, guys. You could find the links on top of my channel here. Here I am on Brighton. Brighton is great. It's like your typical YouTube. And then we got BitTubers here. Don't forget to get on BitTubers. I got to look at this. 11 subscribers on BitTubers. 11. 72 views on a video with 11 subscribers. I have 11,300 subscribers on YouTube. And this is 22 hours ago I put this video up. It takes me a day to get 100 views on the video. Sometimes 2 days. It's so tough. And a lot of people messaging me, oh, Mike, I haven't seen you in a long time. Are you doing okay? How's the family? I'm doing great. You're not on YouTube anymore. Yeah, I'm on YouTube still. It's just people need to go find me. That's the only way around it. Let me know what you guys think. China, first domino to fall in the Asian sector, definitely. Heavy leveraged, banks being bailed out. It's going to be a very interesting first and second quarter of 2020. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Lots of love. Eye on the prize. I love you guys so much. You have no idea how much I love you guys. I really do. Eye on the prize. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching.